Hey guys, what's up? It's the Merc here from Poolshed Games, and this is the first episode of Gaming at College. I am dropping the quest from the title because it's not a quest anymore. I found people to game with. I have been gaming all three and a half years I've been up here so far. If you start looking, it's easy to find people, at least at the collegiate level, that want to play D&D or board games or anything like that, card games, because as much as there is a stigma around gaming, I think it's become a lot less these past few years. It's no longer, oh, you play D&D, you're a nerd. I don't want to deal with you. No, it's not that so much anymore, and especially once you're out of high school, or just grade school in general, things become a lot less important like that. And it's like, oh, well, that's your hobby? Cool. My hobby is this. So I don't need to quest for gaming at college anymore. I found it. I found a good group of people that I play games with, hang out with, and hopefully, if you guys are out there and you're going to college, just don't be afraid. Just look around. And you know what? When people ask you, like, first day of class, if somebody says, what do you like to do for fun? If you like to play D&D or you like to play board games, say it. You know why? Because I can almost guarantee you somebody in that class will also like to play board games or card games or role-playing games, or they're into the same video games as you are. Just be honest, and that's the way you make friends. And it works. So that's it's not the sum of the advice that I would give from the time spent with the quest of gaming at college, but I mean, that's a piece of advice that I would definitely say is don't be afraid to share your hobbies. Granted, if there's no one interested, don't overshare your hobbies, but don't be afraid to put it out there because you'll be surprised. There's people out there that like what you like. So, with that being said, I want to tell you guys a little bit about the game that we are playing here this semester and probably this year, unless something changes. And that game is, there's been many versions. Well, not many, but there's like three out there, I think. And it's Deadlands, the D20 version. I picked D20 because I know my group. I know my gaming group. We have tried other systems. We have tried systems that aren't D20 based, and they don't work. Because my gaming group is just that kind of group that they can't focus on things that aren't D20 based. And I don't like dice pool systems for the most part. I don't like games with gimmicks. So, it is what it is. Now, Deadlands D20, I've looked at reviews, and I know there's quite a few people out there that say Deadlands D20 is terrible. It is the worst version of the game. Don't ever play it. Play the original. Play the one for Savage Worlds. Blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I'm going to tell you guys what I think of D20 Deadlands. And if you want to try it, make up your own minds. So, what is Deadlands? Deadlands is Weird West. It's this idea that the four horsemen of the apocalypse are these beings known as the Reckoners. Initially, they were driven back by a coalition of Native American shamans who took the fight to them in the spirit world called the Hunting Grounds, and with animal and nature spirits were able to drive them back. Well, somehow the Reckoners weaseled back into the world. They kind of corrupted a Native American shaman, a young Native American shaman, and he led a group which shattered what the shamans before him had done and re-released the Reckoners into the Hunting Grounds. The Reckoners decided they were tired of waiting for humanity to bring about its own destruction and started to directly meddle and interfere. And the whole concept of Deadlands is regions of the world have fear levels. The higher the fear level, the closer the region is becoming what's known as a deadland. And if it's a deadland, that's where the Reckoners can come and walk on the earth. And their overall goal is to turn the entire world into a deadland so they can come forth and rule. This is one of three settings. Timelines in the Deadlands setting. There is a post-apocalyptic Deadlands setting in which the Reckoners were successful. Not the entire Earth isn't Deadland, but for the most part it is. And there's a sci-fi horror game which basically focuses on, I think, the last colony of mankind, humanity, the Reckoners are trying to take, whereas humanity is trying to retake Earth from the Reckoners. Now, there's cool mechanics in this, like fear. Fear plays a big part, and it's not just the creatures that cause fear; locations cause fear. On top of that, there is this idea that when your group defeats a bad guy or a monster, they can tell the tale. And if they do so, and they succeed on their checks, they tell a story and they instantly lower the fear level because they talk about good triumphing over evil, they lift spirits, boost morale. I really like that. I mean, if they fail, the fear level goes up, people don't believe them, the good deed they've done is basically wasted. Now, another reason I picked this is it runs off of the D&D 3.5 system, which I like, but I have kind of made this my own game. I've done this before with other systems. Because this is D20, D20 system, you can use basically anything. And I didn't quite feel that the Wild West elements were flushed out enough in D20 in Deadlands. So I had D20 Sidewinder, which is another Wild West RPG that includes vehicles of the time, more weapons, and skills, but that book runs off of D20 Modern. So I'm running a game that is an amalgamation of Deadlands D20, which uses D&D 3.5, Sidewinder, and D20 Modern. That might sound like it's a mess and hard to keep track of things, but it's really not, because D20 Modern is essentially D&D 3.5. So the only thing I need the 3.5 rulebook for is spells. The other thing I like about this system is magic isn't quite like in D&D. In Deadlands, casters, which you have hucksters, who are kind of like sorcerers, you have shamans, who are basically druids, and you have the blessed, which are clerics. They can all cast spells, but to cast them, they need to make a check, and they use whatever the relevant skill is to make the check, and if they succeed, then they can cast the spell. So there's a chance to fail, first of all, which there really isn't in D&D. And second of all, casters have spell points. And what spell points are is you have so many spell points, each spell you cast costs a number of points. Once you use up all your points for the day, you can't cast any more spells until you rest. So, if you have like a level 4 spell, I think it's 3 times the spell level for points, it's 12 points to cast that spell. So if you have enough points to cast 24 points worth of spells, you can cast that spell twice. Then you're done. And I like that system. I like there being checks in place to keep magic from becoming ridiculous, because sometimes in D&D, your spellcasters get to the point where the rest of the party's like, well, why am I here? I don't know why I'm here. So those are the things I like. Let me talk a little bit about the party that I have, that my friends have created. And it's interesting. I love to see what people come up with for their characters. And I have set the game out in the Wyoming, Colorado, Utah region, because it's in the disputed lands. Neither the North or the South own it. It's kind of nice. Utah, because this is back in 1877 America, Utah is a Mormon state. The Mormons were strong enough to declare an independent state. Joseph Smith is the president, and I thought that was enough. That was interesting enough to add a little bit of extra into the campaign. So, with that being said, I have a huckster who is an undertaker. He's the apprentice undertaker in the town they came from. And I have him, and I have an apprentice mad scientist, who mad scientists in this game can invent things, and when they do, they have to make a check, and if they don't succeed, they might go crazy. And to make things more interesting, they're a couple. I have some progressive-minded friends in this group, and they were like, what we want to do? We want to have a gay couple. And I said, you know what? If you guys can pull it off, I don't care. I said, it adds another layer of dimension to the game for me, because this is 1877 America. That kind of thing isn't really I mean, in some instances it's not cared about, but in other instances it's going to be very frowned upon. So it adds tension to the situations where they might screw things up, that might get out, they might get chased. It just gives me more things to play with as a DM. So I have those two. Um, I have a elderly Indian shaman whose name the town gave him is Jim. He has a herb and teepee emporium just outside of town. He has a friendly wolf that runs along with him. And I have a Mormon scout who was chased out of Utah because of some slight that he committed against his fellow Mormons. And now he is trying to spread the faith of a faith he's been kicked out of. So, oh, and he doesn't use guns. That's right, he's in the Wild West and he doesn't use guns. He uses a cavalry saber. He's the only, and the funny thing is he's like a stealth character, so the group really doesn't have a tank. Another buddy of mine decided he wanted to join the game. He's made a gunslinger, which I'm going to be bringing in Thursday night. We'll see how his background goes. I have an idea for how I'm going to bring him in. But basically, the way I started the game was each character had a little bit, like a little tiny quest to do for the village, and we're working on the Mad Scientist Apprentice's quest right now, which I'm going to tie into the other quests and overall tie into the big like overall plot of the game. But this has worked out, and the nice thing for me is this is Weird West is great because I don't like fantasy. I mean, I like fantasy, but I don't like telling fantasy stories and doing fantasy RPGs because it's hard for me to tell a fantasy story. Post-apocalyptic is my genre, but like Weird West is that fun aspect of it's semi-historical, but it's like got weird stuff going on, so I can do pretty much whatever I want. And because it's a D20 system, I know the D20 system well enough that I can just make up a random bad guy and be like, "Here you go, guys, fight this," and it fits. So, I mean, I'm liking that overall, and I probably like Deadlands D20 because I never played the original, and I don't know what it was like, but I don't think my group would be good for it. But I give, for me and my group, Deadlands D20 is a good game, and we're having fun with it. And one of these sessions, I'm going to take the rig down, and we are going to record a session, so you guys can just see the craziness that is my gaming group at college. But that's it. Like I said, I just want to do the first gaming at college video and let you guys know what was going on. Hopefully you liked it. If you did, give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment in the section below. Subscribe, share this with your friends because it always helps. And we'll see you next time here at Bullshit Games.